And as El Nino conditions are expected to emerge around the summertime, Southern California might find itself playing host to a group of sharp-toothed swimmers. Great white shark activity in the region could be higher than usual. And archers have linked El Nino, which warms up ocean surface temperatures in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean, to the presence of these sharks further north than they usually would be. So joining me now to explain this migration is Dr. Chris Lowe, professor of marine biology and director of the Shark Lab, Department of Biological Sciences. Doctor, thanks for being here. Tell me about the current shark situation. I think just a couple of years ago, where we had a very sharky summer along the Florida coast. What do you think that this El Nino and potential super El Nino means for shark populations along some of our different coastlines?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a sharky summer off California this year. The last time we saw this was 2015 and 2017, and we had a corresponding blob with a strong El Nino, and it looks like we're lining up for the exact same thing.
Are there certain types of sharks that are more vulnerable to changing their migration pattern based upon the water temperatures influenced by the Enso oscillation, or is it kind of they all experience the same, and so it's not just one type of shark we might have to be on the lookout for in California?
Well, what happens typically in Southern California is there's some species that normally come into Southern California in the spring to give birth to their young. So white sharks, mako sharks, thresher sharks, salmon sharks all come into Southern California to give birth because it's a really productive time of year. When we have a strong El Nino, we lose some of that productivity. So what happens is it even gets too warm and it pushes many of those species north. The other thing that happens is we get a lot of southern species that move into Southern California that we're not used to. So for example, we could get bull sharks, tiger sharks, whale sharks, and even mantas in Southern California this summer.
Wow. Now, do you notice any kind of correlation between the warmer waters and maybe more of a predatory instinct? Do they potentially become more aggressive and more likely to make a curiosity bite to a human, or is their temperament usually the same? It's just a different water that they're traveling in.
Well, we don't think they're too much like people where they get, really hot and they get grumpy. It seems like what happens is their metabolism goes up. So when they warm up, they have to eat more because their metabolism's higher. So they may actually feed more in the summer, but they do have thermal tolerances where the water gets too warm, and white sharks simply don't like that. So what it does is it pushes them further north. So what we expect is places off Baja where there's big white shark nurseries, those sharks might get moved into Southern California. And some of those Southern California white sharks might get moved up to Central California if the water gets too warm, which we suspect it's going to be a cooker.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next question for you then would be, at what point in the summer, or even, in the next couple of months, would we expect peak shark activity, just based upon their migration pattern and then also how warm we're expecting to get in portions of the Eastern Pacific?
Well, normally this is the time of year where white sharks are giving birth, and we start to see their babies show up off our beaches. But that actually started in February. And a lot of that we attribute to the heat wave that we have right now off Southern California coast. But by July and August, that's usually the peak season when we have the most white sharks. We expect that to increase and actually stay throughout much of the fall. So it's really August when I expect to see the peak number of sharks off the California coast.
What does this mean for a spot like, let's say, Florida or the East Coast? Could it maybe be less sharky over the summer as the water temperatures are maybe a little bit on the cooler side of things, and we're really focused on California, or is it still going to be kind of business as usual for some of our East Coast beaches?
Well, I think in the past, even in 2015 through 2017, the Carolinas saw more sharks along the coast. Florida might actually get too warm, so it may move some species further north. So these are areas that people that may normally not expect to see as many sharks may expect to see a lot more. So we always tell people when we get these unusual weather events, these ENSO events, that really have to keep an eye out for species that they don't normally see along their beaches.
Now, my last question for you is, what kind of tips do you have for people who are tuning in, who maybe are afraid to go swim in the ocean because of sharks that are swimming around? I know it's very rare that we have a shark biting a human. It's usually an investigatory bite. It's not anything really predator-esque, but is there anything that can maybe ease some of their anxieties or ways that they can stay safe while swimming in the ocean?
So the number one thing we always say is stay together, stay in a group. Your chances of being bitten are much lower if you're in a group than if you're off by yourself. So if you surf and swim, do that in a group. Do it at a guarded beach. You have people there who kind of keep an eye out for you, who are paying attention to the wildlife off that area and can advise you. The other thing is avoid really murky conditions. And this spring, we really expect to start to see maybe some harmful algal blooms and the water gets super murky. So those are cases where a shark might not be able to see so well and can mistake a hand or a feet for a prey item. So avoid those conditions. Dawn and dusk is when some sharks feed more. So low light also can make it harder for them to see us accurately. So I think these are the conditions that we advise people to be more careful about and pay attention to the wildlife. They tell us a lot about what's in the water. So if you see diving birds or schools of fish form around you or your surfboard, that could be a bait ball, and you don't want the sharks charging through that bait ball trying to catch a fish and accidentally getting your hand or foot.
I've watched enough Shark Week that I think I've got a couple of good ideas on how to stay safe, but I'd be lying if I say I don't go too far out into the ocean, just out of a little bit of fear. But Dr. Chris Lowe, thank you so much for sharing more about how water temperatures can really change some of the migration patterns of some of the most ferocious animals we have in our ocean. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you.